From the day that I got this Wonder Pen's The Superior Labor pen and wallet case, I have been using it every single day. About a year after I got this wallet, I made a 1-year update on how things had been going with this pen and wallet case. And I thought it was time to come back and do another update because personally, whenever I look into making leather purchases, the first thing I do is I try to research what does it look like as it ages, because one of the reasons why I'm so drawn to leather products is that I love being able to witness it changing over time and see how it evolves as it gets used. And hopefully this will be an interesting update for anyone who is considering this pen and wallet case and is curious how it looks after several years of regular use. The one caveat I will mention now is that I have very dry hands, so I do think that my leathers in general tend to patina more slowly than maybe someone who doesn't have dry skin, so that's just something to keep in mind. But despite that, I do handle this every day, multiple times a day, and I have noticed a lot of wear over time. I purchased this in April of 2023, and I did film the unboxing of it, so I'm going to include some of those clips so you can see what it looked like, what it sounded like when I first got this pen and wallet case, and then I will insert some footage about a year in when I did my last video so you could see how it was looking, and then I'll meet you back to present day where we'll talk about how it's looking over 3 years later. Oh wow, so it feels stiffer than my Camel Traveler's Notebook. I was worried that it would darken a lot after seeing a few photos online, and you can see that there are some spots where the leather has gotten some darker color, and I don't know, I'm not sure if over time it's going to look like whatever this color is, if that's going to be the whole pen wallet. I guess I just don't have a lot of oils on my hands, so my pen wallet just hasn't really darkened that much. But for something that is being handled on a daily basis, I'm pleasantly surprised that it has really maintained its color. I mean, I guess the pull has probably darkened the most, which is the thing that I'm really touching every day. So maybe this is more representative of what this will look like over time. And the zipper works just as well as it did the day I got it. Honestly, it hasn't snagged on anything. I've had so many zippers that eventually get caught on something, and it's just never had any issues whatsoever. Okay, so hopefully you found those past clips interesting. Now I'm going to talk about how this has looked over time. One of the first things that I noticed when I got this, and hopefully you would have seen in the clips, is that it was extremely stiff. I remember when I opened this, I was worried that this leather was so tight that you could hear the squeaking of me trying to get the pen in. And I remember being slightly worried that the pens that I had at the time weren't going to fit. But sure enough, this has softened over time, and I have yet to have a pen that is too big for this case, which is great considering it is on the shorter side. And I say that because what it doesn't fit are Tombow markers. I think in my previous video, my 1-year update, I showed different things that could fit into this wallet. And honestly, there are so many wonderful reviews of this pen and wallet case, and I will link a few of them in my description. The latest one being XOXO Lore's review, which actually kind of inspired me to take another look at this and do a 3-year update. In terms of how this is held up, you can see that it has accumulated quite a bit of patina, but it's still kind of retaining that light brown color. There was one light brown case that a Wonder Pen staff member had that I took a picture of, and I will insert it here if I can find it in my photo stream, that showed a much darker patina, which was really surprising to me. It almost looked like the whole case was closer to this really dark brown color in the corner here. And so I wonder if over time it's actually going to darken even more. And I'm very curious to know if this will eventually look like this dark brown in the corner. I guess we will see. You can see that it's starting to darken a little bit here, and that's kind of in between the pens, because I often have 2 pens clipped to the edges here. Yeah, you can see there's some dark spots. It still has a little bit of that squeak, which I know can bother some people, but it really doesn't bother me. And overall, it's just very, very smooth to touch, and it's just becomes so supple and pliable in my hands compared to something like this. This is my Galen Leather single pen holder. This came with one of my Galen Leather purchases several years ago, and I use it sometimes when I have a really special pen that I want extra protection with. This is a very stiff leather, which is good, I think, for a single pen holder, but this is just so soft. I just love how it feels. Like, it's one of those things where I just really love having it in my hand and love using it. Some of the areas that have the most patina, I would say, are the zipper, like the zipper pull. You can see that it's really darkened in some areas, probably because it's the thing that I'm handling the most. So you can see that it's I mean, it looks darker to me. And then, like I said, some of these corners, like over here, these have gotten a lot darker. On the inside, the first thing that I want to point out is that you can see that there's no issue with keeping this open. When I got this for the first time and I was unboxing it, I remember this barely opened, and it made it so that it was really difficult to get a pen into this last slot. But I hope you can see here that it opens up really, really well. And it ends up getting so soft that there's really no issue getting into that last slot. So that's one thing that I have noticed over time. And I think even at the 1-year mark, it was already this pliable. You can see here that there are some ink stains, and that was a little unfortunate. I had a pen that I didn't know was leaking a little bit, and it ended up adding a bit of a stain here, but that's okay. It kind of just looks like patina at this point. And same thing here is that sometimes I put my pocket pens or my shorter pens in here, and I have a little bit of a stain. So, and if you got the dark brown or the black, you probably wouldn't even see these stains. So that's, I think, a benefit for getting a darker color. The zipper is just as good. There's absolutely no issues with this zipper. It's really easy to just zip with one hand, which I appreciate. So I can just easily like open and close it. I've just had no issues, no catching. Overall, just really thrilled with this. The stitching is all intact. I've never had any stitching come out, or I've never had to trim anything. So it's just a really well made piece, and I love it even more than I did when I first got it. Another thing that I really like about this wallet, whether it was intentional or not, is the fact that it actually fits inside the utility case. If I want to, I can travel with this inside, and it kind of makes for a very compact travel situation. I will admit I'm a little more precious with this utility case. I'm not really sure why. I usually only use this at home, but with my pen wallet, I take this everywhere with me. The next thing that I wanted to do is an update on pens that fit in here, because when I filmed this video in 2024, I had less pens than I do in 2026. And now I have quite a few more larger pens. And so I thought we could just take a look at how they look inside this pen case. And I can also show you how I typically stuff this thing, because I usually fit, I think, around 8 pens in here pretty comfortably. And I've never really had any issues with my pens getting scratched. I think I remember Moonlit Journal mentioning that the zipper here can sometimes scratch your pens. So I honestly haven't had an issue with that, but that's not to say that maybe it doesn't happen. I think I just didn't notice, perhaps. But after she mentioned it, I thought, oh, I guess that would be a con of this pen wallet. So if you're really concerned about your pens rubbing, like getting potentially scratched by this zipper, then that's something to keep in mind with this wallet. So the first pen that I wanted to try is this Sailor Fude de Manin pen, and I have it here because it's quite a long pen. For comparison, this is the Pilot Custom 823, and you can see that it's quite a bit longer. So I'm just curious if that'll fit. Okay, so it does fit here, but it's quite like tight. So I would say like it almost doesn't fit. But if you put it in here, it does seem to fit a bit better. So I would say this is probably pushing it a little bit, but it does technically fit. If this had a clip, I would say you could put it in this front flap, but I honestly think it would probably fall out if you're not careful. So I would say this is probably really pushing it if you do want to have this in your pen and wallet case. The next few pens I'm going to try are some of my largest pens. So this is my, I think this is my largest pen. This is my Leonardo Memento Zero Grande 2.0, and it's one of my like widest pens as well as one of my tallest pens. And this fits just fine. So yeah, as I'm putting this in, I will say, yes, I think it could potentially get scratched by this zipper. So I would say if that's something that bothers you, then maybe this pen wallet isn't for you. Or what I normally do is my finger kind of acts as a barrier, and I would take it out like that. So you could put it in and out of your wallet. You could even flip this that way and then have it kind of use that so that there's a bit of a barrier. So thank you, Moonlit Journal, for pointing that out, because it's not something that occurred to me, but maybe I should be more careful with my pens. So anyway, we have this one that fits just fine. I think it would fit okay in this last slot. Yeah, it fits okay. You can see, like, I didn't have to use a lot of force. If anything, I was just a little extra careful because now I'm hyper aware of the zipper, but I really think it's so flexible that you could bend it like this. So it really fits into any of the slots. So that's my largest pen. Another pen that I often have in here is this Benu Euphoria. So it does fit into this slot. But actually, what I really love about the Benu pens is the fact that they have this great clip where if you press down, it'll open the clip, which makes it really easy to just put in here. So often when I have my Benus inked up, I will actually put them here. I'll just put it here for now to kind of demonstrate the larger pens. Another one of the larger pens is my Esterbrook Esty. And a very quick update, and maybe I'll do a separate video going into more depth with this, but I did reach out to Esterbrook and they were able to confirm that the stuff in the cap that I talked about in a previous video was rust, and they also replaced my cap free of charge. So that was a really wonderful experience. Thank you so much, Esterbrook. And I think I'll talk about this more in a future video, because when they sent me back the pen, I also ordered a special nib and I'm still testing it out, but the TLDR is that I think I love this pen and I love this nib a lot. So I'm really enjoying this pen again. But anyway, this will fit easily in any of the slots, and you can see these are pretty big pens, but they all fit very easily, and they all fit with the clip inside here, or you can keep the clip out like that. So there's enough room for either. These are the widest pens I have. I usually have these 3 pens always inked. I've talked about these 3 before. This is my Pilot Custom 823. This is my Platinum 3776, which has Platinum Carbon Black, so it's one of my permanent inks. And then this is another Platinum 3776, which is currently inked with a Document Brown. So these are sort of like, these are some of my staple pens that are always inked and always nearby. Normally, this one always goes in this corner. This one always goes in the middle slot. And this one always goes in this outer pen sleeve. And you can see that it actually creates on this side ridges. And so what I do with the outside is I can put 2 extra pens on the outside. And usually I will put pens that I really don't mind if they get scratched up. So for one example is this Kaweco collection. Because I have a clip, it just clips in really easily in between these 2 pens. And another pen that I often have on the outside is my Ancora pen, which I have put a Fude nib in, and I use this as a highlighter. So that will go in between these 2 pens, and that I find that that fits really nicely, and they're very easily accessible this way. And then on the inside, I usually have another 3 pens, so I will demonstrate. Here's another pen, another common pen. This is the Lamy Safari, so I can put that in over here. And I will use my Benu Euphoria and I will just clip that in really easily. And so what I do is I kind of put these 2 pens far enough apart that they're not likely to bump up against each other. And then the last thing that I'll do is I will use one of these wallet slots as a place to put another pen. So usually I will put a shorter pen in here. So like you can see, if I put the Esterbrook, it would stick out. But I could probably put it in this, I could put it in the lower pocket and it would be nicely nested in between these other pens. But practically speaking, what I normally do is I'll take a pocket pen like my Pilot, like my E95S, and it slides in very easily that way. So that is how I get 8 pens in here. And if you really, really want to, you can put, like I can put another pen just hanging out here. I've also sometimes done that with just regular pens. Like if I wanted to put my TWSBI, I could do that. I could also put it in here and it would fit it would fit pretty well. So that is usually how I travel with all of my pens, and you can see it zips up really easily. Yes, it's a little bit bulky, but that's fine with me because look how much I can fit in here. And if I want, I can put pencils, I can put highlighters. I don't do this personally, but you could put washi tape samples in here. I think Laura mentioned that your phone can fit in here. I've never tried because I've only ever used this as a pen wallet, but that's good to know that in theory I could just fit my phone in this front flap if there's not too much stuff on the inside. Basically, I really love this, and I love that you can fit so much in here. It's honestly such a nice, like, compact way to travel with a lot of pens. And I love that it always has my staple pens in here, so I can always have these handy. If I have a really special pen that I want to protect, another thing that I can do is I can take this Galen Leather pen sleeve. I can put my precious pen in here. You can see even the Leonardo like barely fits actually, so this isn't a very tall one. But once it's in here, I can kind of put it in here like that, and I can add extra protection. So if I wanted to do that, I could then put another pen in here. And then I could also have it protected that way. That's another option if you don't feel comfortable just clipping the pens and hoping that they don't bump into each other if you're really worried about them getting damaged. But this works too. So yeah, if I have a really, really special pen that I don't want to get scratched up, that's another approach that I can take. If I could change anything about this, what would it be? And honestly, I probably wouldn't change anything about it just because so far it has fit all of my pens. Because I don't use this as a wallet, and I probably never will, I wouldn't have minded if this had been made for pens. So if they had perhaps added like pen specific slots, just like they did on this side, I would appreciate that because that's how I use this. I do think it's flexible and I've been able to adapt to it over time, so it's really not a problem. But I personally wouldn't really use this as a wallet. I think it's a little difficult to like put cash in here. So I guess that's the one thing that I would change is I would probably just make this a pen zippered pouch, and I wouldn't really have the wallet side of it, but that's just me. If any of you have this, or if you've gotten it over the years, I'm curious, is there anything that you would change about this? And did you end up enjoying using this, or did you realize that it wasn't for you? Because I know that this isn't going to necessarily be ideal for everyone. There's plenty of other options out there. In terms of pros and cons, I would say that it's pretty similar to what I mentioned in my last video, so I won't go into depth into that, but I did say at the time that pros, this is durable, which is still true, it's compact, which is still true, and it protects my pens, which I think is still true, but I suppose it depends on who you ask and depends on your tolerance level. So let's say that maybe that one is perhaps a little bit up for debate. In terms of cons, I will say that this is expensive. So in April of 2023, I purchased it for 160 Canadian dollars, which with today's exchange is around 113 US dollars. And now I think it is being sold for 190 Canadian, which is around 135 US dollars. So if you're not sure that this is something that you're going to like, this is quite a lot to spend on a pen wallet. So that is definitely something to consider. And related to that, and I mentioned this in my last video, this is really limited in availability. So I get asked questions all the time about this pen pouch, and unfortunately it is only sold at Wonder Pens. if you want to buy it new. So it is a collaboration between Wonder Pens and the Superior Labor, but you can't purchase it on the Superior Labor website. You have to wait for it to come back in stock at Wonder Pens. Since getting this, I've noticed that they seem to restock these 1 to 2 times a year. The best way to keep up to date with when this is going to go back in stock is to join their email newsletter, because I find that when you sign up on their website for a restock notification, that gets sent to you when it actually goes live. Whereas the email newsletter will give you a heads up. It's usually like a day or so of a heads up. So it's not a big advance notice. But the email newsletter, they'll usually tell you this time tomorrow it's going to go live. And so if you rely on the notification, that email will get sent after it goes live. And oftentimes these will sell out within minutes, so you might be too late. So if you do want to get this, my recommendation is to sign up for their email newsletter and wait for them to give you the heads up that it's going to go live for pre-order. And then if they say it's going to go live at, say, 10 a.m., then make sure you're at your computer or on your phone at 10 a.m. Ready to purchase it. Make sure you have all of your purchase information already in the system so you can just press buy and check out. Otherwise, it might get snapped up by someone else. Having said that, I know that it can be really stressful to try to buy something that is so difficult to buy. I have seen these listed on local buy sell trade groups before, so another option could be to buy it secondhand. I've seen it on the Facebook buy sell trade group, and I'm sure there are other places, I just haven't looked, but these are available occasionally secondhand. If you want to buy it new, then I would go to Wonder Pens, but if you're willing to wait and or get it secondhand, then you might be able to find it somewhere else. There are so many other options of pen cases out there, and this is just one of them. I happen to really love this one, and because I love it so much, I have not really purchased any other options out there, even though there have been so many tempting options. And I thought we could end this video by just talking about some of the other options out there, because there are a lot that range in terms of cost. So you definitely don't need to spend hundreds of dollars to protect your pens, and different materials too, because this is made with leather and not everyone enjoys buying leather products. So I thought it would be good to take a look at non-leather options. And in my previous video, I actually got some recommendations, and I thought I would start by sharing those. Annie Kami, too, recommended the Lihitlabs Smart Fit. I was able to find it on Amazon, and it was very reasonably priced. So I think that could be a very cost-effective option. Decompcore 4780 recommended the Delfonics A5 size. So I looked that up, and I think that would be considered the medium Delfonics. And that is such a cool pouch. I have been eyeing it for years. The only reason why I haven't gotten it is because I have this and I have my utility case. And if I were to get the Delfonics, then I probably wouldn't be using, it would be hard to kind of use both regularly. So I've just decided not to invest in it, but it's such a cute pouch. And I do think it's really cool, at least if it could fit an A5, that you could fit your journal inside the pouch as well. Lila Kalien suggested the Nanala case, and I looked it up, and I think they're possibly talking about the Nanala collaboration with Nomado stores. I will share a photo of it in the video. It's really cute. It looks very compact and high quality as well. And also the Sonnenleder leather case. It looks like another really great slim option. And I think from what I could tell, it looks like the leather is maybe a little bit more rigid, which perhaps could be better in terms of keeping your pen safe, because this, as it softens, becomes very pliable. And I still feel like my pens are well protected, but if you wanted maybe a harder case, that could be an option. And then Stationary Dumpling mentioned the Yoseka TSL pen roll. So that's another option. That's a Superior Labor product. It's a pen roll with a flap, so you can fit multiple pens in the pen roll, and then you roll it up. So I think that your pens can be very secure with that as well. I also wanted to share a couple of items that have really tempted me over the years, and I've been very, very close to making the purchase. And if I were starting out today and I were looking for a pen case for my pens now, I would be very torn between these three. So the first one is the Liebe. I don't own any Liebe pen cases or products, but I have been eyeing them for years, and it just looks like high quality, very classic, beautiful pen cases. And what I really like about the Liebe ones is that you can unzip them and you can have it open flat on your desk. So you can easily access your pens, kind of open and zip this. I don't mind having to open and zip it each time, but that's another design style in case that appeals to you. The other one that has caught my eye is the Pixelette Studio. So Pamela, I believe, is the maker of Pixelette Studio, and Pamela makes these really beautiful fabric cases, and I'll just show a few of my favorites on the screen. I think these are also more challenging to get because my understanding is that Pamela makes these all by hand, and so understandably they're not mass produced, so it's not like there's going to be available stock all the time. If you are interested in getting them, then I would recommend following Pamela's Instagram and watching out for mentions of when stock might be available. But they're beautiful and they look like very cozy pen cases. I will admit I've been very, very tempted. A few others that I've mentioned in my previous video and or I've just become more aware of since being in this hobby a little longer. So there's Galen Leather. They always have some really lovely leather cases, and they also offer much larger cases. So what I like about Galen Leather is that they have almost like a sleeve that you can pull out and you can just display all of your pens. So you can have them on your desk and you can see all of them, which I think is really lovely as well. There's also Yuruliku, there's Kokuyo. Both of them have like a canvas style zippered pouch that I think would be really good affordable options for your pens. There's Lochby, there's Rickshaw. So Rickshaw has a variety of options, and what I really like about theirs is they have this really fuzzy lining on the inside. So it's kind of like you're putting your pens to bed. And they always use really fun fabric. I'm sure there are so many other options that I'm not even mentioning, but if you have any other recommendations or suggestions, then please leave them in the comments below. And if I do another one of these updates in a few years, then I will definitely mention them at that point. I think the main takeaway is that there are so many different options at so many different price points that this is just one. It's definitely a luxury item and it's not going to be for everyone. But personally for me, I am so in love with this pen case, and I'm really relieved to say that over 3 years later, I still love this pen case. And that is saying a lot for someone who gets bored really easily. I am surprised that I'm still using this because I do often want to change things up, but this is just such a wonderful artifact, and it's definitely one of my most prized stationery items. And at this point, I've started considering not taking it with me when I travel, only because I think that if I did lose it, I would be devastated. I know that I could technically replace it because, as far as I know, the Superior Labor are still producing these, even if it's just at a slower rate. So they're not impossible to get now. On the one hand, I feel like I should just take it with me everywhere and use it, and if something happens to it, then it's just an item. And then there's another part of me that's like, I must protect this and I never want it to leave my home again. So yeah, let me know if you're like this with your goods. Like, do you just like to use them and take them everywhere? Or are you more protective of them and do you baby them? Because for some reason, that's how I am with this one. This one, I know some people buy this utility case and like to travel with it, but I have been very precious with it. I haven't really been as open to traveling with this, even though I think it would be great for travel. But this one I have been okay with because I keep it with me at all times when I travel. Let me know if you have any questions about this pen and wallet case, and I will answer them in the comments, or I will answer them in my next update. I'm not sure how frequently I am going to do these because there's probably not much more that I can add to a video like this except for a patina update. So if you have any suggestions for future videos, then let me know. I guess we will check in with this pen and wallet case in another year or so and take a look at how it has evolved. But you'll also see in my videos, because this is pretty much in all of my videos. I think it's a fun artifact as well that I've been able to share with you. And in a way, I feel like you've been able to watch this grow and evolve and patina over time. And just really happy to gush about this. And I could honestly talk about this pen and wallet all day. But I will stop. That is all for now. If you're still here, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you're doing well, and I will see you soon in the next video.